then we'll get into the topic of caring for the carer. My name's Vivian Boyd, and if you're having difficulty hearing me, I'd encourage you to come down towards the front. I promise that neither of us bite. I've been with Alzheimer's Canterbury for 5 years. I'm one of the education coordinators, and prior to working at Alzheimer's Canterbury, I worked as a registered diversional therapist with people with dementia in residential care facilities, and people with dementia attending a day centre. I also have life experience in supporting family members and friends who were diagnosed with dementia.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Jackie, and I'm one of the social workers working at Alzheimer's Canterbury. There's a team of 5 of us, and my background is in older person's health, previously working at Princess Margaret Hospital, and in women's health. So welcome and thank you.
And you'll see we're each holding a piece of paper. That is so that we keep to our script and keep to time. You'll also see me looking at my watch, which is Vivian monitoring Vivian. We're going to start with an advertisement, then we're going to talk briefly about the support options that are available when a family member, friend or neighbour has dementia. Then we're going to talk about 3 specific tools for carers. If there is time at the end, we will take questions. If not, we are both available after the session out in the general foyer area to talk with anyone who is interested in talking with us about anything we've covered or anything that, in fact, we haven't covered if it relates to dementia.
Wanted. Individual required for physically and mentally exhausting work. The job may include heavy lifting, and applicants should be capable of working alone for indefinite periods. The successful applicant will be expected to be on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and will receive holidays if they are lucky or able to pay for someone to replace them. Pay is at the rate below the official poverty line or non-existent. Social status attached to the job is low. Applicants are expected to show evidence of a sense of humour and the patience of a saint. Past experience, training and qualifications not necessary. No training will be provided. Job title, carer.
And when we hear that word carer, it reminds me of a quote from Shakespeare's play Twelfth Night that goes along the lines of, "Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them." When it comes to the caring role, for some people it's a role it's almost as if they were born into. Throughout their lives they've been involved with caring and supporting other people. For others of us, it's a role that we work on when we feel that we need to and we achieve. And for others, it's a role that's thrust upon us, not wanted, not sought, but we find ourselves in it. And that word carer is a word that we tend to use in our work, but really when we're talking about carer, we're talking about husbands, wives, partners, brothers, sisters, sons, daughters, sons-in-law, daughters-in-law, nieces and nephews, neighbours, friends, anyone who is supporting a person with dementia. And sometimes, quite understandably, the people who have that role choose not to use the word carer, and we want to acknowledge that. Sometimes people are really determined to keep relationships as much as possible as they've always been, and so they may choose to describe their role in some other way, and that's fine. We're only using the word carer as a generic word as it saves us using all those other words, but we do ask you to translate it into a term that fits for you. And I'm reminded of an Australian woman, Dorothy Webb, who's written a book called One Day at a Time, Living with Dementia. Her husband has dementia, and she describes the carer, and herself in particular, as the person close to the person with dementia, carer, care partner, or the one who gets the blame for everything that goes wrong even though you do your best. and that at times is how it can feel for all sorts of reasons. The other word we want to clarify is the word dementia. Dementia is the term used to describe the symptoms of a group of illnesses of the brain. The most common is Alzheimer's, but that is only one of many types of dementia, or one of many illnesses causing dementia. Alzheimer's is called Alzheimer's because it's named after a German neurologist. And if, like me, you learnt grammar back in school days, you would have learnt that I comes before E except after C. But because Dr. Alzheimer was from Germany, the spelling, of course, is German. Alzheimer's Canterbury, we work with people affected by dementia. We work with people with dementia, people with a diagnosis of Alzheimer's, people with a diagnosis of other dementias, and we work with all who support them. We're a community organisation set up back in 1983 by family members and others who were concerned that people with dementia were not getting back then the support and services that were appropriate for them.
A diagnosis is usually made by a medical professional. Increasingly, GPs are diagnosing dementia in the GP's practice. Oh, I think I'm on. Sometimes people will be referred for more specialist assessment, but the important thing to note is that a diagnosis is made by a medical professional. The next step for people is often to have a needs assessment, which is a separate process, and that is carried out by a staff person from the District Health Board, and you will be given information about that. Some of you may be familiar with this process. Once a person's needs have been assessed, then supports are allocated. For example, things like personal cares, assistance with domestic help in the home, respite care, carer support, and daycare options. Those services can only be allocated by the health professionals at the Canterbury District Health Board. It can be a little bit confusing and hard to find out all the information you need. So this is where we often support and help people to understand the services, the way they work, and how to access the allocations of things that have been provided for people.
There are a number of education services that are run by our organisation. In particular, I'm going to mention three. And the first are the community education seminars. These are open to anyone who is interested in attending. They are held at our premises at 314 Worcester Street. That's the part of Worcester Street between Fitzgerald Ave and Stanmore Road. And next week, as it happens, we have two seminars. We have one on Tuesday morning at 10:30 entitled Dementia, Apathy and Motivation, put together by Maria Scott, a very experienced occupational therapist from Princess Margaret Hospital. And on Wednesday evening at 7:30 we have an evening seminar with our medical advisor, Dr. Matthew Croucher, with a specific focus on for adult children of people with dementia. We also have volunteers who companion people with dementia, and it's a real delight to acknowledge and see some of our volunteers here today. They are a very, very important part of the overall work of Alzheimer's Canterbury. And they spend time, many each week, or each fortnight, or each month, with people with dementia. Our volunteers are all trained, and we have a volunteer coordinator who supports the volunteers in their service that they kindly donate to us. The third program I'm going to mention is Making a Difference. This is a 2-day or 3-part course, free course, which is available for family members, friends and neighbours supporting a person with dementia. And we have more information about that on our stand. So there's a raft of education opportunities that are available for anyone supporting a person with dementia.
A significant part of the social work role is supporting carers, people caring for somebody, supporting somebody with a diagnosis of dementia. The type of social work support that is available is one-on-one support. Depending on a person's needs, the carer's needs, we can support the carer to access the allocations that I was talking about earlier and understand what they're for and encourage and support them to actually use them. We also support people to take care of their own needs, and that can be such a difficult thing for carers to do. Having somebody to encourage and enable you to take care of your own needs is a large part of the social work role. We also have carer support groups. We have groups that meet monthly and come together in an open way to support and encourage each other with the caring role. There is a support group here in Christchurch, and there is one in Ashburton and also one in Rangiora. We have post-placement groups, which are 5-week block groups which provide information and support for people who've had to recently place or support placing somebody into long-term residential care. We also have community-based cafes. We have a very popular cafe which is run by our volunteer staff, and they coordinate and support people to come together in a social environment that they can experience social connection with each other and in a supportive environment where people understand and know what their needs are. We also have a social program of activity which we're funded through the DHB for, and that again is the purpose of it is to provide opportunities for people with dementia, but for their carers or their support people to attend social activity with the idea of boosting confidence and also enabling and supporting people to make connections with each other. We have a range of pamphlets out on our desk out at the front. The social work role is outlined in that pamphlet, and you're welcome to pick those up. We also have pamphlets outlining the carer support groups and the dates of those, as well as the next post-placement course and the dates and places of where you can find the community cafes.
We're going to go on now and have a look at 3 specific tools to assist you in the caring role. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to distribute pads of paper so that everybody has a piece of paper, and if you could fish a pen out of your bag or pocket if you have one, otherwise we can supply, and then I'll talk you through these tools. Okay, Going to invite you to write yourself a few notes as we're talking through this next part. Rest assured, you do not need to pass the paper in. As long as you can read your own writing, that is fine. I'll talk, but if anybody still needs a pen, if you could raise a hand and Jackie will give you one. Going to talk about 3 A's in terms of tools. The first A is for access. Access support in your role of caring. Access support of family. If anyone in your family says, is there anything I can do to help, take them up on it. For some family members, it might be an idea to give them 2 or 3 options of specific things they could do to help. Be it take the person with dementia out for a drive, be it mow your lawns, be it do a bit of shopping for you. Really important to take up offers of help. Accessing support and assistance is not a sign of failure. Accessing support and assistance is part of showing that you care for the person with dementia. You care enough to allow other people to be involved. Really, really important to acknowledge that. So acknowledging support from friends, from neighbours, from people in organisations you belong to, from organisations such as ours. Accessing assistance is really important. The second A is to action your anchors. Whatever it is that keeps you going. For some people, it might be a particular place. It might be the shed out the back. For some people, it might be the kitchen. For other people, it will be the garden or a nearby park. Think of the places around you that are special to you, because they can become anchors that will help keep you going. Think of the people who are supportive of you. At times like this, we find out who our friends are and who aren't. Activities that keep you going, be it gardening, be it Scrabble, be it golf, be it bowls. Really important to keep up whatever activities you find supportive. And your beliefs, whatever they are, really important to hold on to them. And let us not forget objects. It might be a painting, it might be a piece of pottery, it might be a favourite mug for your tea or coffee. These can all be anchors that can support us, and it's really important when we're in this caring role that we hold on to our anchors, because dementia's a marathon, not a sprint. For many people involved in the caring role, this may be a role that they have for quite a long time, and the anchors become very, very important. And the third one is to avoid arguing, because arguing with people with dementia generally just does not work. For many people with dementia, because of the changes in their brain, which are totally beyond their control and totally beyond your control too, their logical reasoning skills are reduced. And when we're arguing with another person, it is a pretty skilled occupation. It does require listening, it requires concentration, it requires reasoning, it requires topic following, and these are all things that can become more and more difficult for a person with dementia. Added to which, they are more likely to observe your body language than your words. So while you may think you're speaking really calmly, your facial expressions, gestures and posture may be conveying another message, and it's that message that will be picked up. So I'm going to invite you now to look at that list: accessing support, actioning anchors and avoiding arguing. Underline one of those things that you could possibly do a little bit differently, and then just talk to the person next to you about that for a moment. Go. Okay. We did at the start commit to keeping to our time frame, and we are going to do just that. We would encourage you, as you go on your way, to take the piece of paper with you and to set about caring even more than you may have been doing already for yourself. There's the basic principle of first aid, which I'm hoping you're all aware of, that if we come across an accident or another first aid situation, the first thing we need to do is make sure we are safe before we get involved. In this situation of caring or supporting a person with dementia, we need to keep our strength up to keep going. And it's okay to take a bit of time out, because that, in fact, can recharge our batteries for keeping on going. So really important to access support, really important to keep action in your anchors, and really important to, as much as possible, because we are all human, to avoid arguing with people with dementia. Jackie and I will both be available outside here after the session to talk with anyone who has particular questions, and subsequently at our table out in the foyer. Just want to finish with a quote that actually comes from Teddy Roosevelt. Do what you can with what you have where you are. Go gently.
Vivian. I hope you can hear. I'm not going to just going to thank them very thank them. They've kept their time very well. I hope you found it informative, and it is very important to look after number one. And it's not being selfish. I think we all feel we're being selfish, but I think they have shown you're not being selfish, and you can't look after somebody else if you're haven't looked after yourself. They will answer any questions outside. We've got lots of groups out in the foyer, and they will answer any questions that you've got. And then our next speaker will be Dr. Connor at 12 o'clock. So I look forward to some of you coming back then, or maybe all of you. And I'm sorry it's a bit chilly in here, because my hands are freezing. I wish I'd brought my gloves in. Apparently the temperature's at a certain degree, and it relies on 700 odd people. Not odd, but 700 people. Well, we all are. This hall holds about 700, so I think it relies on about 80-90% occupancy, which is, we haven't got. So I'm sorry if you're a bit chilly. But thank you again.